This is way better than we expected, as the official timelines for Patrik Laine and David Reinbacher have been revealed, and Laine is out for a much shorter period of time than we anticipated, though with Reinbacher it still is a bit of bad news. We got to get into all of that, plus recent talks between Jeremy Swayman and the Boston Bruins have been breaking down, and some outlets have been proposing Montreal as a trade destination if the Bruins star goalie doesn't come to an agreement. That, plus some updates on the lines and how one Montreal Canadian is, there's a certain change to his role in the offense that could spell an interesting future for him this season. We're going to get into all that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And before we get into the video, all I'm going to ask you guys to do is leave a like right now. It helps us out a bunch. We really appreciate when you guys do it. It's completely free. Hit the like button. It supports us, and it helps other Habs fans find our content. Jesse, time to get into this. This to me changes a lot. This is significant. Now, this is something that Marty St. Louis has somewhat teased in recent times, kind of been talking about how this could be something that happens, and with the news of Laine being out for an extended period of time, at least a few months now, well, we got to look at who's going to fill in on the wing. It's something we've talked about a lot over the past few videos and streams, but recently, well, in fact, just today, the lineup for the game against the Senators, this is recorded before the game happens, but again, this is still relevant after. It's Oliver Kapanen on the wing, Jesse. This is something Marty said he would probably try out, and we're seeing him get his chance with Dvorak. And we know Kapanen's a natural center, a very good center, but they're trying to find that guy that can fill in that hole that Laine is leaving, and was probably going to move up the lineup, as you can see here. Maybe it's even Armia. But to see Kapanen on the wing is a clear sign to me, Jesse, that they're intending to give this guy every single shot that he can to make this team right now.
And I believe that absolutely he will. I think that he's going to get that 9-game tryout, as I mentioned. And I think he's going to stick because Kapanen has that NHL-ready game. It's maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. But, with that Laine injury, it's a little bit of that silver lining of we're going to probably get some help to that third line with Oliver Kapanen. I'm a fan of him being here as a result. I think he's going to get that opportunity. He's going to play solid hockey, probably playing with a little bit of better line mates as well. It's really going to help him, right? And there's a couple of things that we can probably take away from looking at this. But for myself, Josh, I have Kapanen still ahead of Heineman in the pecking order, in the depth chart for the Habs. Even though we're seeing Heineman up above here, I feel like it's more getting a feel for what actually like our third line would be in the future. And, obviously Dvorak centering that, the vet, still let him play his position, which I've kind of inferred to previously, but Kapanen still getting that spot on the wing on that third line. So I think a little bit that's the makeup that we're kind of going for here. Like Heineman, for sure, he's been at camp a couple times. There is kind of that seniority, everything else that comes with it, is playing very well. He can hit. He has an awesome shot. He just looks better all around, as Marty has kind of said as well. But I feel like Kapanen still has that inside spot. For sure, Heineman's going to get some games with the Habs this year. But I mean, like going to defense, I think it's that same thing with like Struble Barron, even though there's like an Angstrom and Xhekaj and Mailloux playing ahead of them. I believe it's more to get an actual feel of like who their partners will be in the regular season. I think we'll see that Struble Barron combination quite a bit. So it's just about kind of getting a little bit of that early chemistry going here.
Yeah, it's really cool to look at this. Like Heineman, of course, has that NHL level shot. He is one of the better shots of any player that's not on the Habs main roster right now. Probably the best, honestly, if we're talking about that. But when it comes to Kapanen, like, look, I think this middle six, I don't think we should glean anything from seeing Evans and Heineman above Dvorak and Kapanen. I think those two middle six lines are going to get almost the exact same amount of ice time. You can come back and tell us we're wrong if we're wrong. But seeing Kapanen get these reps on the wing, Jesse, he controls the game like almost no one else in this lineup that we see tonight can do. I mean, there are some guys like Dach, Armia, whatever. But the fact that Kapanen can control the game, create as many chances as he can, is really amazing. And we're not going to talk too much about the defense because we got a lot to get into today. But I will just say that Xhekaj and Mailloux being ahead of Struble Barron is a little bit interesting. But let us know what you guys think about the roster and Kapanen being on the wing and what that could mean for the future down below. But speaking of the future, Jesse, well, there's one team whose future is certainly very uncertain right now, and that is the certainly very uncertain. Well, that's something I never said before, I don't think. No chance that Montreal does this, right? Because Jeremy Swayman, if you guys heard, his agent, we have never heard that $64 million number that Cam Neely said. It was actually $62.4 million as it comes out later today. There's just wild negotiations going on. But if you guys remember, Montreal was in the Yaroslav Askarov trade talks when that was going on before he was moved out west, of course. So now there's a lot of people who are naturally linking Montreal to Jeremy Swayman, including this article for the Hockey Writers that I'll link down below from Jesse Corville Lynch that says 3 potential trade destinations for Jeremy Swayman. There was a couple teams in there, but I think the Kings were one and something like that. But the main one here that we want to talk about is Montreal, and they're saying Montreal could look into getting Jeremy Swayman. There's a bit of cap freed up. I guess, yeah, for a little bit. But the thing is, again, when you look at where Montreal is for the future of goaltending, Jacob Fowler looks to be amazing. And of course, that was the sticking point in the Askarov deal, that Montreal did not want to get rid of him. So, first off, in my mind, Jesse, is like, if you were that confident in Fowler, you probably don't want to get Swayman, but we also can't forget that Swayman has been one of these guys that's been hovering around the Vezina talks for years. Of course, his partner Linus Ullmark got the Vezina in the year where they both won the Jennings Trophy for letting in the fewest goals in the NHL. Swayman has never played more than 44 games in a season, but he has been unbelievable pretty much any time he's been able to play. To me, look, as much as we can praise Swayman, and he's a guy we talked about, Jesse, even during last season as a potential future goaltender, right now with Montreal's goalies, the way they look, I don't see this ever happening, especially not at the cap hit that Jeremy Swayman's going to be asking for, but I think it's interesting to talk about nonetheless.
For sure. Fowler's a couple years away. Swayman's a really interesting proposition. For me, I think that the Habs are going to pass on this right now just because, I feel like they want to improve that defense that we have right now, kind of get that a little bit more matured up before we can judge any goalie, basically, that we're putting out for the Habs right now. We're still paying Carey Price. So just financially speaking, as much as I love goalies and I do like this player, and a part of me would be excited getting it, I just, financially speaking, I don't think it really makes sense, or really where Kent Hughes needs to put his money for right now. But an interesting player all the same, right? And why this is even coming up, a lot of people are speculating, like, we're in on Askarov, so maybe we'd still be interested in Swayman. For sure, Fowler is a couple years away. Interesting situation in Boston, though, right? Where I can kind of see both sides. They're like, we don't want to give you that big money because it's like, we've seen other, you haven't just done it all by yourself. That's a perfectly valid point. I get where Swayman's also coming from, too, that goalies are criminally underpaid. I get that comes from that, from year in to year out, that they're a little bit more unpredictable. So it makes sense that kind of the market would follow it. But I do get that they should be paying more, but definitely not the ideal situation when you're kind of drawing a hard line in the sand there. A very interesting player. Of course, I'd be excited with him coming over. I think it just doesn't quite fit what we're looking for right now to just jump into a really long-term deal with him. Interesting player all the same.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's still young. He turns 26 in just a number of weeks, I believe. So, say Montreal gets him for a 7-year deal or something. I don't know if they could even get him for 8. I don't really know how that would work. I think you can only do that if you're the team that, drafted the player. But regardless, say Montreal gets him for 7 until he's 33, 34 years old. Okay, right? But then you're locking into one guy when you still have Monty, who we don't know how, we know he's amazing. We don't know how good he'd be behind good defense. Like you said, Jesse, Cayden, Primeau, Jacob Fowler. There's a lot of uncertainty. Montreal's not in a rush to compete right now. And this article sort of suggests if you want to compete, this is a way to do it. I agree with that. I just don't see the cap fitting. And I also agree, Jesse, that it's a bit strange. I know he wants to get his money, and I know where the Bruins are coming from, but this dude's never proven himself as that kind of 50, 60 game starter over a long period of time in the NHL. And if you're signing a guy for that much money, you better hope that's what he is. But let us know your thoughts on Swayman down in the comments. I think it could get very interesting as we're going to move on into the final topic. Wow, it's pretty much all I got to say to this. I mean, this was, we were scared that we weren't even going to get a Laine update, but thankfully it came out right before we went to record this video, Jesse. But I want to start with David Reinbacher, though. David Reinbacher underwent surgery on his left knee on the play that looked like nothing. You fall down on your knee, it can twist, it can do bad things. He'll be out 5 to 6 months. Well, that's his rehabilitation period. So, not great. We're not going to spend too much time on this. It is just a bummer, though, all the same, to see he's losing another year of development. This is his 3rd knee injury, I believe, now in the past year, basically. I think this is his 2nd left knee injury. He also had that right knee injury as well. Pretty brutal for him. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people say, I'm not even sure if he's ever going to contribute ever for Montreal now. I think I'm going to pump the brakes on that a bit. People come back better than ever from surgeries now compared to any time in history. It is a little worrisome, but Jesse, all we can do, I think, is wish for the best for him and hope he can come back maybe before the end of the season.
David Reinbacher will be fucker. Okay, a bad joke, I know, but we need them at this point in time. We got him far away from Cloten. And that's what's so far away from all that crazy happenings going on, bad coaching, jumping around all over the place. We then get him over here only for this to happen. It does hurt a lot because this is a player I like. I have a lot of faith in. I was so impressed by his confidence. He just seemed like a new person kind of coming to camp. The way he carries himself, where he's calm, he's not cocky, but has that confidence, is sure of himself, is sure of his capability as well. For me, that was saying a lot. Even though there's that slow start, I've seen that mental part of his game was on 100 right now. Oh, yeah. So I was really looking forward to seeing him play this year, which is really disappointing. Right now, it's all going to be for him. Like, what can he do not being on the ice to improve? There still is things, watching tape, watching games, speaking with the development staff. Paul Byron's going to be involved there. So definitely unfortunate for him that his injury ended up being on a little bit on that longer side of the thing. But, hopefully he can get back to play just a little bit of hockey this year, get that experience in for him. But, David Reinbacher, we got to be patient with our prospects. I still think we got a solid one in him.
I think so too. All we can do is wait and see, wish him the best. Is what it is. Unfortunate, but we did get some positive news on the other side of that, Jesse. And the other side of the coin, as we were bracing, as Stu Cowan said 4 to 6 months, Tony Marinaro said very long term. It was a bit less than I think initially reported. And Patrik Laine only sprained his knee. Just a knee sprain. I know sprains are not great, but that is about as good as you can hope for. It will not require surgery. He will be out for 2 to 3 months. And this is being recorded October 1st, which means, Jesse, if you're on the short end of that, you're talking early December. Even if you're on the long end of that, you're talking just after Christmas into the new year. That is about the best case scenario for Habs fans. And already, like when we were looking at that lineup for the preseason game, that again probably happened by the time you were watching this, or maybe not, it got me so much more excited. The hope was just all brought back into the Habs fandom, and I cannot believe how happy I am for this. You're seeing all the insiders, all the big name insiders saying how happy they are for Laine. We heard Nick Ehlers speak about Laine. There's so much positivity around him, and this just made me so happy, and all the hope that felt lost for the season has come rushing back, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Let's keep it going, boys. We're going to have, as Marty St. Louis said to the rest of the team, some great news coming in today. Like the fact that he could be back by the early December, maybe around that Christmas time, kind of that worst case scenario. We'll take that any day of the week, just given how brutal that collision was, right? Yeah. So we are absolutely so happy because this is an exciting player. He brings so much to this team of what we need. And by the time that he's back, there's going to be plenty of hockey left to play. Josh, it's important to remember that this year that we have the Four Nations face-off, which is going to extend this regular season a little bit, right? So this is going to give a little bit more runway. Obviously, there's going to be lots of hockey to play before that. But even afterwards, for Patrik Laine to really have an effect on this team, because I think that's the biggest thing with like the 2-year deal, is you wanted to get a good feel fairly early on. If you do have any chances or inclinations of kind of re-signing him in year 2, you wanted to see a sample size this year to really judge and make a decision like, what do we kind of do going forward? So this is absolutely huge for this team. For this fan base, which has really gone through such like a roller coaster of emotions in the last couple of days, weeks, months, years, even going by. So it really feels like with it, this definitely could have been worse. We lost Dach for a complete year last year. This is not happening to Laine. So this is absolutely amazing. This early part of the season, it's really going to fly by. It's just about the team really holding it down in the meantime. Young guys are going to get an opportunity to shine in this opportunity. Kapanen as example to really hold it down. But Laine is going to be here before we know it, and you got to feel like he is so excited about this news.
I know he is. I know I am. I know we all are as Habs fans, and I want to see all that excitement down below in the comments. If you made it to this point in the video, just leave a W down in the comments. That's all I ask for. For once, the Habs come out on the winning end of some bad... Like, isn't it crazy how happy we get over the fact that Laine's only out 2 to 3 months? Anyway, it's unbelievable. I think it's more so the fact that he avoided surgery and avoided a tear. I think it's mostly just the fact it's a sprain, because those things heal much, much better in a lot of cases. But we're so thrilled, and I hope you guys are too. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoy, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for watching every day. We really, really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.